What is good? Osiris here, stuck in the middle. Thanks for joining. And we are living in two different countries right now. I'll give you an example. Oregon is drafting a rule to make wearing masks permanent. That's because they did these temporary health orders and they can only last so long. And at some point, you have to do legislation or make it permanent, and they would like to make it permanent. The main story, though, is New York City.
As of today, we're going to announce a first-in-the-nation measure. Our health commissioner will announce a vaccine mandate for private sector employers across the board.
So Mayor Bill de Blasio is strengthening the vax screening at indoor public establishments like restaurants and theaters. It will include 5 to 11-year-olds now as of December 14th, and you will require that second ding, not just one. You need to get that follow-up procedure. What New York City is doing is what Brandon wants to do, and Brandon is just the face of everyone behind him. The corporations, the global elite, the people who really run this world. Does Florida's state guard start to make a little bit more sense to you? I know DeSantis was like, well, we're going to help out the National Guard, and in case of natural disaster, this could be considered a natural disaster. So there's no limit to this mindset. In my opinion, these government officials like de Blasio will do whatever it takes to achieve whatever goal they need, in this case, 100% compliance, whatever that compliance would be. And that's up to and including the ultimate of terminations, eliminations. So this is a baby step in their eyes. It's not surprising. De Blasio is running out of time as mayor. Eric Adams will be taking over. But de Blasio is doing a lot on his way out. Why is that? He wants more power. That's just my opinion. Mr. Bill de Blasio is running for governor. So in order to run for governor, you need to get some serious, especially for a state like New York, you need to get some serious funding. Did you see how crazy the race for mayor was of New York City? Much less running for governor. I mean, you're at the Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez type level of money and power. You saw what the Cuomos were about. You basically have to be gangster, political gangster to have a chance at running for governor. What you're seeing is Mr. Bill de Blasio, just like most of them, many of them, self-serving aspirational sleazebags, at least his actions are. And because I don't know him personally, it's an interesting distinction between their actions and them themselves. At some point, if you keep doing this action, how could I say you're not? I still think it's worth making that distinction, but I digress. How do I connect de Blasio's thirst for power to the pseudo-safety measures in New York? Here's how I do it. To my knowledge, Mayor Bill de Blasio is a cis white male. I don't want to make any assumptions, but I just don't know otherwise. Let's just say that he is. He could be going up against people for that gubernatorial position who have more intersectionality than him. We know for a fact that's happening. Letitia James has announced that she's running for governor. She's a woman and she's black. And if you subscribe to that ideology, she has way more intersectionality. So that means her voice matters more. He's going to have to show the powerful money interests why they would go against critical theory and pick him. What does that look like? I'm going to do an updated video on the establishment because I've got a better graph to describe what I mean. There's this term called global private public partnership. And all that really means is the hierarchy. You know how like an organization has an org chart? It's basically the big picture org chart of the establishment. When I say what is the establishment, this is it right here in a graph form. So where does Mayor Bill de Blasio fall under this? He falls under the policy enforcer segment. So if you notice, and right now he's at the mayor level. He's not even at the governor level. He's not in DC. So he's not even that high up in the policy enforcer, even though New York is a big city, he's bigger than most mayors. But he's under the policy enforcer section. He answers to the policy makers who are, as you see here, central banks, where the money comes from. I won't say all these organizations and names because I think the video is in danger at that point. But though the policymakers are the top level of the establishment. Then you've got the policy distributors, United Nations, World Bank. So you wonder why some of these local level politicians were invited to Conference of Parties 26. Well, it's because the policy makers need to talk to the policy distributors who need to talk to the policy enforcers. And America is a very big piece of this world global initiative. So what you're seeing here is Mayor Bill de Blasio is brown nosing. We have a world agenda of authoritarianism and control, and the mayor is in front of these people, and he doesn't have to have communication directly with them. I know what they want. So I don't want people to think like this is some conspiracy theory. I know what YouTube wants. I could do a channel promoting mandates and the establishment position, and who knows, maybe you would get more hits and views and stuff like that. I know what Google wants. I know what Alphabet wants. They don't need to tell me. So I'm not alleging a conspiracy. I don't know either way whether he talked to people or not, but he knows what they want. Mayor Bill de Blasio is in front of the class. He's that student who's complimenting the teacher, always raising his hand, telling people what to do.
And this would be my advice to mayors, governors, CEOs all over the country. Use these vaccine mandates.
Telling people what to do.
And the more universal they are, the more likely employees will say, okay, it's time. I'm going to do this.
Mayor Bill de Blasio is in front of the class. He's that student who's complimenting the teacher, always raising his hand.
Because you can't jump from one industry to another or one company to another. It's something that needs to be universal to protect all of us.
No, that's not what the teacher wants. She wants this. And, everyone else in the class is like, oh, gosh, this brown noser, I'm sick of him. That's what he is. He's trying to be that teacher's pet to the top policymakers. I'm going to end on this. People say that this will not end until we don't comply, and I agree to a certain extent, for sure. I just did a video where people walked into Panera Bread. They were peaceful. Love how they handled it. They were laughing a little bit. Yeah, I like that because they were laughing at how stupid the police and Panera looked. But they walked in and said, hey, I'm not showing the papers. I just want something to eat. They know it's not illegal. It's not a law. So they had to shut down Panera. So I agree with the compliance. But the problem is if we as a society can't find enough common interests, like, for example, we don't all agree on a men's and women's bathroom. How do we find the cohesiveness to put together enough non-compliance for it to make sense? So it sounds good in a vacuum, but this is not easy. I think it will happen. I hope it happens. But I just want to make sure that we talk about it like this isn't just going to happen. Like, we have to work through some of these other issues as well. And we're not doing that. So once the government takes over power, it doesn't give it back. So and they're exerting more power in certain areas, obviously. So if you don't believe in that stuff, the first thing isn't non-compliance. You got to get the hell out of there. Let me know what you think. Take care.